On the morning of January 29th, 2012, our family attended church here at Central United Methodist. It seemed just like any other morning, nothing out of the ordinary. After the church service, we made our way upstairs to the Sunday school rooms, and as we were preparing the lesson, Jolie turned to me and she said, "I'm feeling dizzy." And no sooner did she finish the last word, her body collapsed. And one of the first to come rushing in was our friend, Dr. Lawrence Mason.
Her eyes had kind of rolled back in her head and she was turning blue. So I checked for a carotid pulse and she didn't have one. So Jimmy was standing there and I said, "Jimmy, we got to start CPR on her." So there was another guy at her feet and I said, "You need to call 911." And we pretty much started compressions right away.
The request for other doctors to be located in our church went out, and Lawrence began CPR at that point. I assisted while he gave me instructions on how to assist, and within a few minutes, other church members arrived, whom were doctors and nurses and EMT, and they took over.
Coming through the door, I saw Dr. Lawrence Mason on the floor with a woman, and he was already doing chest compressions. And I fell to my knees and started timing my respiratory breaths with Dr. Mason's chest compressions.
Thank goodness we had several doctors there. We had an EpiPen that we were able to use, and we just continued CPR until the ambulance arrived.
At that point, I remember standing over her and feeling very helpless and having a difficult time completely grasping that this was actually taking place. The ambulances arrived and their crew took over. They began injecting adrenalines and hooked the defibrillator up and shocked her chest several times. None of this brought any response.
Finally, they loaded her up in the ambulance and took her away. I just remember looking at her that day, and she was already blue, and I walked out of that room and I remember telling my husband, "If Jolie makes this, it'll be a miracle from God." And I believe I was blessed that day to witness a miracle.
By the time she arrived, it had been going on for about 30 minutes. And it was my understanding when she arrived, she had not regained a pulse, not regained any cardiac activity at that time. We continued CPR, and we gave her amiodarone, and eventually we got a pulse back, but it was very brief and she lost it. We started CPR again. There was a rather remarkable event that occurred after the first round of amiodarone. Her pupils constricted for a very brief period of time, and because really everyone in the room was about ready to stop the code. It had been going on at that time for almost an hour, and I thought at the time someone's trying to give me a message. So we persisted. We gave her another loading dose of amiodarone. Her pulse returned. We were able to treat her with hypothermia after that, and the rest is history.
And finally, Dr. Phillips came out, and I don't really remember what he said at this point. All that I could remember was he said he had established a heartbeat and that she was alive. The days and months that followed were incredible. We started from zero, not even knowing if she would survive. And then to see her respond for the first time, and then to see her get better each and every day, and eventually make a full recovery.
Having had CPR for roughly an hour with no heartbeat, and then recovering at the level she did was a miracle to me. I'd never seen that happen before, and it just goes to show you that with dedicated people who know how to perform CPR, what can be done to save lives.
And thanks to technology and advancements, today we have the peace of mind that Jolie's defibrillator and pacemaker will prevent such an event like this from ever occurring again. It really is our privilege to share this story, the success stories. Isn't that why we're here tonight? To support an organization that's in the business of making success stories.